Hello everyone, good day to you all. Today I wanted to talk about this slide milling job that I had done on my Sig Sauer P320 for a Trijicon RMR. This was done by Maple Leaf Firearms and I've been really impressed with how well they did, so I wanted to kind of do a review video of that. This finishes up my P320 build. This was a pretty basic build, not a whole lot that I wanted to do with it, but like I said, I'm going to talk about the slide milling. I'm going to be talking about this I'll go ahead and do it in chronological order. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit about the order process, which is a little bit of a boring way, I know, to start a video, but it's kind of interesting. I haven't done this sort of thing in the past. Pretty new to getting optics on handguns in general, so it was kind of an interesting process, I feel like, if you're a first time to doing this. So when you go to order this, one of the first things they'll ask you how your slide is set up, because Sig Sauer on their P320s have gone through incremental changes where they add, as you can see right here, mine has these two holes and you have a bunch of different options as well. They've originally it was just a solid, just nothing there, and then I believe they went to a single channel, and then I think they may even have a newer version out now, but it doesn't really matter. The point I want to make is I was comparing this to some other companies that offer slide milling, specifically to Jaegerworks. However, with Jaegerworks, unless they've changed it now, they would not mill a slide that has anything except for the just full solid type of older slide. So immediately when I saw that, because I was shopping around for this for quite a bit, I decided, like, okay, can't go with them, so I'll try out Maple Leaf. They seem pretty good. So first thing they do is they make you select that, and then they describe how deep they can cut your optic. In the case of this and quite a few of the other kind of newer style of slides, if you have those, it's not going to be that deep. You can see this is sitting fairly high on there while you're looking at that as well. Another thing that they do ask you when you're first ordering your slide milling is you can add on a few things, which is pretty cool. They do offer suppressor height night sights. That is not something I decided to go with personally. I retained my original sights, as you can see here. Personally, I kind of like it. It keeps the RMR window just nice and open. I understand why you would want that. Personally, I need to do more practice with this, but might end up just going with some blacked out, just suppressor height sights in the future. We will see how things go, but it's really cool. You can actually just send in your entire slide to them, just assembled. Of course, you would take the barrel and the recoil spring out, but the way I sent it to them was just as it is right here. Of course, it didn't have the RMR on it, but had the sights and it had the striker installed. They take it out for you there, which is really cool. Makes it quite convenient to just get it sent in. It's not too hard to take it apart and reassemble it, but it is just one further step you don't really have to deal with, which is nice. Another add-on they have when you were initially ordering this is you can get a sealing plate, which you can kind of see here on the side of the RMR, just on the underside there. What that does is it just helps to waterproof it completely, especially since you have a little bit of overhang there on that edge. And of course, that is on mine here, and fits great. Don't have any complaints about that. So of course, being that this is a slide milling service, you do need to send in your slide to them. And one thing that, if you read everything about what they recommend you to do when you send in a slide, one thing they ask is if you already have the optic, you can send it in with it. They do offer, when you're actually ordering the slide milling, you can buy the optic through them as well. In my case, I already had an RMR in tan, which I believe they do sell this as well, but they didn't have it in stock at the time, so I just picked it up from a different seller. And I shipped it with it. One thing interesting about this is when I shipped this, I didn't want to bother with declaring that I had, a battery and all that, because that's annoying. So I didn't ship the battery with it. What was really impressive to me was, so my thinking was, okay, I'm not going to ship the battery with it. I wanted to ship the optic with it, however, just because then when I get it back, even if it doesn't have a battery, that way I know for a fact that they checked it to fit. But it was really cool. I took it out of the box, and I'm going to overlay this on the screen here. I was pretty impressed, just as a little secondary note. They have a really cool return box. Very well packaged. Not too much else to say about that. It's kind of as I said, secondary. Doesn't really matter as much because it's not the actual slide itself. But one thing I noticed was immediately when I took it out of the box, I just decided to check, like, hell, it's on here. I don't know, maybe. And they did. They actually put in a battery for me, which also is pretty minor, but it's really cool that they actually did that because I didn't include a battery. As I said, just because I didn't want to declare it and all of that. So I was impressed with that. And of course, as I said, they did install the ceiling plate as well on here. And so that was all quite impressive. Another thing I do want to mention before, so I'm going to get to the shooting footage here in just a second, how it's been holding up in that regard. But one other thing I was really impressed with Maple Leaf Firearms, I believe it was a stated, and their lead times change all the time, but when I ordered this, I believe they had a 5 or maybe even 6 week lead time because I ordered this with Cerakote. But they actually ended up getting this back to me in almost exactly 1 month. I think it was 1 day over it. And that's including shipping time too. So really, if you consider when they got it versus when they shipped it back to me, it was really quick. But yeah, as for how this has actually been holding up now, so I got this fairly recently. I have quite a few rounds through it though already. So when I very first got this, I just took it out and zeroed it, of course. I wanted to make sure that it was all good from the factory. And then after I got the initial zero, although this is additional work on my part, I then took the RMR off, and again, going to overlay some footage here. I wanted to see how well they did at actually milling it, and as you can see, they did, I would say, a very good job. You can see very even, and yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. It's good. So hopefully that shows pretty well. This has been holding up quite well so far for me. In addition, I did touch on earlier that I had this Cerakoted. So that is another service they offer, and it's a good idea to get some sort of refinishing done through them as well. They do mention that on their website when you're ordering your slide milling, that if you don't order a refinishing, your slide's gonna come back with bare metal and you're gonna have a really bad time with corrosion and just, rust and all of that. It's gonna be a bad day. But in my case, I went with M17 Cerakote from their, I believe it's called the Elite line of Cerakote, because I have had some trouble with Cerakote in the past coming off, so I wanted to go with the best possible Cerakote. I didn't go with the actual nitriding because I wanted it to match with the grip module I have on here, one of the Gray Guns grips, which is also quite nice. I have a separate video on that as well. I'll have a link below in the description to a full playlist of all the videos I've done on this P320 build. As I mentioned, not a whole lot. It was a pretty straightforward project, but it ended up quite cool. So far, to get back though to the Cerakote, I've been quite impressed with it. I have a little bit, just a tiny bit of wear right here on both of the sides. That's just because of how my holster sits. And I actually had the same wear pattern happening with the regular finish. Just totally normal there. Everything else has been looking completely fine, so I've been really impressed with that. And this is my everyday carry gun, so it gets a lot of use, just in and out of holsters and all of that. I maybe sound like a shill in this video, but I'm not sponsored or anything. I've been really impressed with their work. That's just why I wanted to do this video especially. They do also have, if you're into some of those, kind of cooler looking designs for your slide, I believe if I remember right, they do also offer a camouflage Cerakote pattern that they can do, and a bunch of other options there, of course, with colors and all that. But that covers it. This won't be too long of a video. There's not a huge amount to say. And this also finishes up my P320 project. So this has been a cool build. We'll see how it holds up. I don't plan on doing anything else with this. I would prefer to kind of, not do anything too crazy with it. As I said, this is my everyday carry gun, so I don't really want to experiment a whole lot in that regard. And to just cover really quick, although this isn't really the subject of the video, I do think it is a really good idea to be able to get a optic onto your handgun. It's not something I've done a whole lot in the past, but already just from a little bit of shooting that I've done with this, or relatively small amount of shooting compared to how much I've shot iron sights with handguns, I'm definitely significantly more accurate, and it's a lot easier once you get the hang of it. Of course, it is different. It is something else that you'll completely need to get the hang of. It is way different from shooting pistol iron sights. But once you get the hang of it, I greatly prefer shooting with an actual optic here than with just iron sights on a handgun. So as far as whether you should or should not get it milled, or if you have a optics ready slide, whether you should get an optic for it, I would say absolutely. It's a very good idea to get some sort of optic for your handgun. That covers it for this video. Thank you all a whole lot for watching, especially if you got this far. Let me know if you have any other questions about, you know, this or the process of how it went or anything like that. Otherwise, I hope to see you all in the next one. So take care and see you all then.